Hello, my name is Andy and I am the village idiot, a man with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to the district of North East Derbyshire, and to begin this one I'm on a railway bridge over quite a major railway line. There you go. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about this in the video as we go through this village, and the village in question is that way where that van's just going, and it's a fairly sizable village as well. It's got a decent sized population, and it has one famous resident as well. Anybody out there who knows the sport of darts will be familiar with a man called John Lowe. He was the first man to hit a 9-dart finish in a televised darts tournament, and he lives right there in the village and the parish of Tupton. Tupton is located 4.5 miles south of Chesterfield, close to the settlements of Wingerworth, Grassmoor and North Wingfield. The population, which includes Egstow and Old Tupton, was at the 2011 census 3,428. It's important to note though that whilst Egstow falls within these boundaries, Old Tupton, or the majority of it, does not. It forms part of Claycross, which we'll talk about later. Speaking of Claycross though, Tupton lies just to the north of it on the A61, which is Derby Road, which runs from Chesterfield to Alfreton. Whilst Tupton is split into the areas of Old Tupton and New Tupton, it's generally referred to as a combined whole, and just Tupton in general suffices around here. It should not be confused with a similarly named area, Tapton, which is a few miles away and part of Chesterfield. It's known that Tupton has been a settlement since way back in the Anglo-Saxon times, as the historic Ryknield Street runs directly through the village, the same road that passes through Stretton a short way to the south. The locality was formerly known by a few names, most notably Tupton and Tupholme. Tupton is shown on a map of Great Britain and Ireland in 1806, and on the first OS maps where Tupton Moor, Tupton Over Wood and Tupton Hall are shown. The modern day village is no stranger to traditional Derbyshire customs. Every year there's a carnival called the Tupton Carnival, held on a Saturday in July. This first started in 2003, and it's grown in size and attendance as the years have gone on. A young lady is elected Carnival Queen and travels through the village attended by the Carnival princes and princesses, and is followed by a procession of floats, bands and fancy dress participants. The parade ends on the primary school field, where an afternoon of fun and live music is set up with stalls, displays by local groups and various competitions. Tupton's demographic is pretty standard for a village on the outskirts of Chesterfield. It's made up of 98% white British citizens, although there is a small Asian community here as well. It's one of Derbyshire's smallest in terms of area, clocking in at just over 2 kilometres squared, and that gives it a population density that's quite high at 1,497 per kilometre squared. As mentioned in the intro, the darts player John Lowe was born in Tupton in 1945, and on further research it would appear he was only born here and currently lives elsewhere in Chesterfield. As well as him, Tupton has had a few notable residents in the past. Jim Hutchinson, who played first-class cricket for Derbyshire, lived here and lived to the age of 103, and Dennis Skinner, the long-time MP for Bolsover, attended school here. Looking at Tupton's property, it's seen some new developments recently, most notably around Ankerbold Road, which runs on the outer edge of the village, close to North Wingfield. A large new modern housing estate has also been built around the Pond Lane proximity too, as well as some more modern housing to the south. These days, if you wanted to pitch up here, you'd be needing around £238,000 for the average house. The main war memorial is outside St John's Church, and Tupton has had its fair share of war history. On March the 15th, 1941, it was hit by a German bombing raid. Some of the houses affected were on Ward Street and others are now demolished. Despite local rumours, a large crater in the nearby woods, nicknamed Monkey Hollow, was not caused by a bomb dropped during this raid. In fact, it used to be the location of an air raid shelter for Claycross works. Once the war was over, the shelter was demolished and the crater left unfilled. One of the areas affected is where the community garden is now located. It's known 11 people died in the raid. Okay, so you've got the general idea of Tupton now. How does it do in terms of what it has for the public though, its amenities? Let's have a look at some of those now. Most of them are laid out along the one road at the top of Tupton, in New Tupton, but there are a few in this area here, including a fish and chip shop over there. There's a shop there, and I'm actually going to sample some fish and chips from that chip shop as well in a few moments. But let's see what else Tupton's got in terms of amenities. The village has quite a number of amenities and is very well served on a local basis. There are 6 buses listed as serving Tupton online, these being the 51, 51A, 55, 55A, 63, and a service called the Comet, which runs from Derby to Chesterfield. In the 1800s, there was no church or chapel in Tupton, but North Wingfield Church would have had some influence in the village, and nonconformists may have worshipped at Claycross. These days, there are a couple of different churches in Tupton. St John's Church was built in 1889 and it's situated on Queen Victoria Road, directly opposite the local primary school and Green Lane, which leads to the centre of the village. Available to hire to the rear of this is a church hall, which charges £10 an hour, which includes the use of the kitchen. On the other side of Queen Victoria Road at number 68 is New Tupton Evangelical Church. Then towards Egstow and hidden away off Nethermore Road is a Methodist church. This is Old Tupton Methodist Church, and this has a story to tell. Tupton was a small and scattered agricultural village and township in the parish of North Wingfield, and there were only 54 houses in 1841 with only 307 residents. Coal was an important industry at this time, and it had been in the previous century. Tupton Green, the site on which the chapel now stands, was listed as a working mine. Little is known about Tupton Green Colliery except it was working in 1811 and was active in the early 1840s. For shops, Tupton has 2 general stores and there's also a post office. Now for schools, and it has both a primary school and a secondary school as well. Here's the primary school, located on Queen Victoria Road. There's a soldier in the grounds out the front currently, as this was being filmed close to Remembrance Day. There's also a secondary school with a 6th form. This is Tupton Hall School. Tupton Hall was founded as Tupton Hall Grammar School in 1936 and a secondary school in the Claycross area on a site purchased by the Derbyshire Education Committee in 1929. In 1936, the school moved to its present site, formerly occupied by the mansion Tupton Hall. The original building was designed by G.H. Widdows, the county architect we've met before, and it was opened by Oliver Stanley, the Secretary of State for Education. There are 2 parks here, one of which is Sunningdale Park and Playground, which boasts some football pitches and a largish play area. This is right next to Sunningdale Park, which is a collection of park homes off Queen Victoria Road. The second park is more of a green space, and it's between the A61 and Old Tupton Methodist Church. This is the location for Tupton's Scout Group in a small building along the edge of the green space. Much like neighbouring Grassmoor, there's also a car dealership here too on Derby Road. This is TTS Car Sales. The village hall is a prominent feature as well. This is on Green Lane and is very much at the heart of village events, hosting as it does many, including various clubs, dance classes and fitness sessions, as well as a weekly bingo night and various coffee mornings. There's a coal truck outside which doesn't specifically mention Tupton Green, but rather honours all of those who worked in the mining and engineering industries. Near the village hall is a pharmacy, and as well as everything else mentioned, there's also a host of other things like a nursing home, a coffee house, a hairdresser's, tanning studios, building suppliers, tyre services, garages, car repair centres, and a preschool nursery, and perhaps most importantly, there's a really good fish and chip shop. Finally, we come to the pubs, and Tupton has 3 pubs and 1 club. The club is the Miners' Welfare, which is next to St John's Church. Shown here is the New Inn on Queen Victoria Road, and you'll find the Britannia Inn in today's picture bit. The third of the 3 pubs in Tupton is a little drive away, and we're about to go and find it after a little explanation from me. I have to admit some of these flowers are looking a little bit worse for wear, but considering what time of year it is, it's late October when I'm filming this one, so obviously they don't last forever, and I'm sure Tupton Parish Council will restore these when the time is right. Okay, that's it for the amenities. Now what I'm going to do is put the camera on the dashboard of the car, and I'm going to drive around this area here because there's quite a lot more to Tupton yet than what we've seen. Let's go and explore it. Our little drive around ends here on the A61 at the Tupton Tap. So here is how weird parish boundaries can sometimes be. The pub behind me is the Tupton Tap. You can't deny that because it says it above the door. That is the Tupton Tap. But it's not in Tupton. No, no, no. That's because the parish boundary runs right down the A61, which is the road behind me. And you can't dispute that either because there's a sign telling me Derby on the A61 is that away. And it actually belongs to Claycross. There's a strange part of Claycross parish which sticks up to the north and encompasses this area here, whereas everything on the right hand side here, this is all Tupton. And actually this is the small area known as Egstow. Tupton has the Midland Main Line passing straight through it. At the bottom of Station New Road, there's a bridge passing over the track into North Wingfield. This was the location of Claycross Railway Station. Claycross Railway Station was originally built in 1840. It was planned to have been built within the Claycross Tunnel. However, it was clear it would be impossible to ventilate it effectively. So instead, it was built close to the northern entrance right here in Tupton. The station closed in 1967 and there are no visible remains. However, the goods shed still remains on the south side of the bridge. The next station to the north is Chesterfield. The railway has always been an important feature in Tupton. There were very busy coal sidings nearby, particularly those serving the Avenue coal carbonisation plant. A locomotive shed was built at nearby Hasland in 1861, with at one time as many as 60 engines. In the 1960s, it supported 16 Garratt locomotives used for the coal traffic from Yorkshire. The Erewash Valley Line opened on the 1st of May 1862 and had its northernmost connection here at Claycross. In 1877, as a result of the additional traffic resulting from the Erewash Valley Line, Claycross Station was rebuilt and improved. An additional platform was added for the Erewash Valley trains. 3 large platforms were opened, one outside the outer lines and a large one in the centre, connected by covered staircases and bridges so as to enable passengers to cross the lines safely. Nowadays, the site of the station is given over to industrial units and various other buildings. The parish boundary is pretty much right next to the railway line, and it's the River Rother which separates Tupton from North Wingfield. It has several streams that join it close to here, which increase its width and volume as it heads north. One of them is the Red Lead Mill Brook, which joins from the west, and before reaching Chesterfield, Birdholme Brook joins it from the west at Birdholme, and Calo Brook joins from the east. The River Hipper, which we encountered in Holy Moorside, runs into the Rother on the southern edge of Chesterfield. And to finish with, we're back at Tupton Green again because this building attracted my attention. It's an old youth centre. The building has been abandoned for several years and currently in a state of some disrepair, although Tupton Parish Council hope to acquire it for use as a base for the council. And that's it for the parish of Tupton, one of North East Derbyshire's, I think, loveliest places to visit. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I think Tupton's got a great sense of community. Everyone seems to know each other in a village just like this. And yeah, it reminds me a lot of the village that I grew up in, which you've already seen on the channel, by the way. very similar to Saxelby with Ingleby in West Lindsey. Okay, I need to move on now to my next village. So for now, this has been the parish of Tupton, another one down in northeast Derbyshire. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.